Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you know, this hearing is on, quote, restoring integrity and preventing fraud. So preventing fraud is an issue I think we can all support. I, for one, would like to start by investigating President Trump, the fraudster-in-chief, who built his career on cheating his workers and abusing the system to his financial benefit. And he's allowing fraud to take place across our entire national structure right now. But maybe that'll be for another day. We'll have hearings on all that fraud. But it seems to me that the president is only concerned when fraud is something he can use as an excuse to wreak havoc on children, families, and small businesses. Last month, the Trump administration abruptly froze $10 billion in federal child care funding to 5 states due to unproven allegations of fraud. This freeze impacted more than 500,000 children and left small child care businesses between a rock and a hard place. Most child care businesses hover below a 1% profit margin, and child care worker wages average only a little more than $15 an hour. Ms. Stenson, can you please speak to the impact of sudden funding freezes and delays on the operations of small child care businesses and the families which they serve?
Absolutely, and thank you for the question. The month of January was challenging for our organization. We went from status quo operating as usual to our funding 60% of our children might disappear overnight. And that raised a lot of questions across our community, across our state, of course, and with our children and families, asking if they would continue to have care past this date or this date. And living on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis as it was created a lot of uncertainty for our families, a lot of uncertainty for our organization and for my board of directors. And understanding what the impact of that could be on our organization was an exercise in frustration, of course, but also in catastrophe management. What could we possibly do in order to get through such a situation? And bringing it all back down to the children who would lose access to those funds immediately, lose access to high-quality care, and their families who would be unable to work would be catastrophic.
So, Mr. Wildy, same question. How does it impact this federal unpredictability? How does it impact children, operators, the entire system?
Yeah, I think that if payments were, we haven't experienced frozen payments, but if payments were frozen, we would immediately be in a situation where we were unable to continue to operate. And in early care and education, 75% of expenses are personnel. When you can't pay, that immediately affects people, whether it's furloughs or layoffs, or people can't have employment. And so if there were to be a freeze in payments, it would immediately have an impact on our work.
Thank you. And I'm the lead Democrat on the Small Business Committee, and 99% of child care firms are small businesses. And I can tell you that these are mom and pop businesses that rely on predictable funding streams to serve the families in their community and to keep their doors open. In Massachusetts, federal child care funding lowers costs for many families by over $24,000 a year. And without that funding, child care would be out of reach for thousands of families just in Massachusetts alone. So, Ms. Denson, how would increased funding for federal child care programs allow your business and small child care businesses across the country to better serve children, families, and child care workers?
Senator Markey, I love this question. Thank you so much for directing it to me. Increased federal funding for child care would result in immediately opportunities for those who work in the child care industry. You mentioned how low early educators are paid. We have systemically undervalued teachers in the early education field. Giving the opportunity to fund and pay these teachers what they're worth when they're investing so much into the most critical brain development time of a child's life would be an incredible opportunity. I could also see increased funding, creating opportunity for increased quality. A lot of quality measures can be expensive, and if a center isn't really dedicated to making sure that happens, it can be a hard choice between paying your staff and paying for quality measures. So I would see an almost immediate increase in teacher wages and definitely some outcomes related to increased quality with early childhood education.
Okay, great. Now, thank you for coming here and giving us your
Thank you.
expertise. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Markey. And now, Senator Hickenlooper, you have something.